That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with me, Karen B., and of course, just Jack Flat Earth.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. Or sorry, good rising, good rising, good rising.
Yeah.
Force of habit. Sorry.
Good
All right,
rising.
Yom Tov. I'll read my disclaimer, get it out of the way. Just Jack's disclaimer. To the religious, if you believe it's wrong to study your scripture outside of religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scriptures shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. If you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe the truth of scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for words, as well as context from a non-religion perspective. We will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict the scriptures. All right, there we go.
Alrighty.
And just a recap of last week, Miriam, which is Moshe's sister, died, and they went back to Miriam's name is very similar to the bitter water, or the bitter waters that was turned fresh, and that is the same location where Moshe previously was instructed to strike the rock and water came from it, and this time Moshe was commanded to speak or declare the rock, and he struck it instead, and thereby gave up his ability to enter into the promised land. So that's the major thing that happened in chapter 20. So now they are starting to move towards the promised land after going through the generations of the 40 years, because the first generation, excluding Joshua, aka Yehoshua, and Caleb, aka Caleb, that previous generation had to die off before going into the promised land. So on the way to the promised land, they get into wars that also show that Yah is in the favor of Israel. So that begins here in Numbers 21. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
Alrighty. And the sovereign of Arad, the Canaanite, who dwelt in the south, heard that Yisrael was coming on the way to Atharim, and he fought against Yisrael and took some of them captive.
All right. So, excuse me. So, some of Israel has been captive. All right.
Then Yisrael made a vow to Jehovah and said, if you deliver this people into my hand indeed, then I shall put their cities under the ban.
Okay, under the ban. Let's see. Where is... This one says destroy. Karam. Karam just means to capture. Put in a net. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
These cities will be captured, so nothing will go in or out of them. All right?
And Jehovah listened to the voice of Yisrael and gave up the Canaanites, and they put them and their cities under the ban, so the name of that place was called Hormah.
And Hormah means the capturing or the netting. So we will put the cities under the capture, and now the place is called the capturing. Makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in English. We will put the cities under the ban, so that the name of the place was called Hormah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes a lot more sense in Hebrew. Okay. 4.
And they departed from Mount Hor by the way of the Sea of Reeds to go around the land of Edom, but the being of the people grew impatient because of the way.
They had a short life source. In other words, they were impatient, right? And Mount Hor is Har Hor, and Sea of Reeds is Yom Suf. And this is what was translated as the Red Sea in KJV, which is right here in this parallel. So this is actually the Reed Sea, the Sea of Reeds, Yom Suf, from Har Hor.
Okay.
All right.
And the people spoke against Elohim and against Moshe. Why have you brought us up out of Mitzrayim to die in the wilderness? For there is no food and no water, and our being loathes this light bread.
The light bread, of course, is the manna, and it's called the bread of weightless. So, yeah, so it's really light bread. But they're short on water. They're not out of water. So that's important to know. All right, 6.
And Yehovah sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and many of the people of Israel died.
All right, so this came up. You and I had a discussion about the different quote unquote serpents of the Torah. 1 second. That there's different titles that they translate as serpent all the time. So in this case, you could say, and Jehovah sent serpent, right? Because there's 2 words here that are being used to describe a certain serpent that actually does like pin down that it's absolutely a serpent, because it's the Nachash, which is the divination, aka brass or bronze, aka or whisper, because whisper from divination, and then whisper like a serpent, right? And then the second word is seraph, which means to burn or venom. So the Nachashim, seraphim, obviously that's the whispering venomous thing. So that is absolutely a snake, because it's using 2 verbs that it whispers and it venoms. So those 2 verbs together definitely make a serpent. So I think that's important for people to know. Like, Nachash has different meanings and seraph have different meanings, but when they're together, it's definitely snake. And also it says that they bit the people, and it is they bit the people in this context, but it could say it charged the people interest. Because a bite is also the same word as usury or interest,
or taking their piece, huh?
Yep, taking their piece. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Lightning strikes. That's what I was thinking too, Cammy, when it said fiery serpent. I was wondering, it almost sounds like a bolt of lightning.
Yeah, I mean, it could be some poetic thing to describe bolts of lightning. Who knows? Yeah, I think that I can't turn that away.
But it could also be actual venomous snakes. But
yeah, in context, I think it's I think they're snakes. But yeah, it's you could use that poetically to describe lightning as well. So for sure. And if Yah sent these serpents, what kind of serpents are they? Right. Are they fully physical serpents? Are they metaphysical serpents? And anything from the metaphysical, I say, has an electrical attribute to it. So, and that's my perspective. That's not anything that I can validate. This is
it just makes sense.
It's a manifestation of Shemayim in
right.
Yeah, it's just another possibility, right? The likelihood of there being enough serpents to kill a plethora of people, a very large number. If it was physical snakes, that was a lot of snakes to show up all at once out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay, 7.
Then the people came to Moshe and said, "We have sinned, for we have spoken against Yehovah and against you. Prayed to Yehovah to take away the serpents from us." So Moshe prayed on behalf of the people.
Okay, and prayed is, of course, just a request. So it's not, he did not close his eyes, bow his head, and fold his hands. Okay, just putting that out there. All right.
And 8. And Yehovah said to Moshe, "Make a fiery serpent and set it on a pole, and it shall be that everyone who is bitten, when he looks at it, shall live."
Okay, now here they're taking a artistic or whatever, a literal change for their own sake. It literally just says a seraph. So, yeah. It doesn't say fiery serpent. It just says seraph, which is the burn or venomous. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So make a burn or make a venom and set it on a pole, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can assume that it's, the snake, but it doesn't say literally snake until the next verse.
Okay. So Moshe made a bronze serpent and put it on a pole, and it came to be, if a serpent had bitten anyone, when he looked at the bronze serpent, he lived.
Okay, now this is very interesting because this literally says, like, it could be, you could say bronze or you could say brass or whatever because they're interchangeable, but it actually could say he made a bronze. Okay, so this is nachash. It's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So you could, you could say he made a bronze, but it's a venomous from the previous verse, and it's a nachash for the second verse, and then you wouldn't have a serpent. So it can be could be concluded that it's brass serpent or bronze serpent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then, anyone who looked at the bronze or serpent or bronze serpent, he lived. All right.
Interesting.
So context is everything.
All right. And the children of Israel set out and camped in Oboth.
Okay. Okay, so this area, when you look at the names of these townships or campsites or stuff, it gets very interesting, like a boat or a both or boats. But anyway, this could be the same word as the necromancers, those who speak to the dead, those who speak to the dead fathers. So that's interesting, I find.
A vote?
Yeah, obote. Ovote.
And they departed from Ovote and camped at Laye?
No, it's I.
Oh,
Yeah.
I ha Avarim in the wilderness, which is east of Moab towards sunrise.
Yeah, it's this word right here. And of course, Old English, when there was another y, they would put a J. But when you would read it anglicized, it would say Ija Barim. But it's actually, where is it? All right. So it's
Yahavarim.
E
Yay.
That's hard.
It is, man.
Avarim. Yeah.
Ihe. Ie Ahavarim.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. There you go. You got it.
Boy, that's tough.
Yeah, so it's in the eyes of the crossovers. So the Ivrim, aka Hebrew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they cross over the Hebrews, right? So it's in the eyes of those that cross over.
Okay.
So that's the name of that location. All right.
From there they set out and camped at the Wadi Zered.
The Zered is the strong spread, and a wadi is like a depression in the land. So it's the dividing of mountains, which also
Like a
usually
valley?
collects waters. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
it's
like a
typically valley, but it can collect waters and become a river. So that's why, it can be called valley or river. Zered.
From there they set out and camped on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that extends from the border of the Amorites, for the Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites.
And Arnon is the shouting or the vibration, or shouting that causes vibration, even. So that's interesting, I think.
Therefore, it is said in the book of battles of Yehovah, Wahev in Sufa, the Wadi Arnon.
And be careful of things like these, okay? So therefore said in the book of the battles of Yehovah. So if I was a dude who wanted to make my my book paid more attention to, I just could call it the book of the battles of Yehovah. And because it's in the Torah, this title, and that's the name of my book, obviously it's the same thing, right? And people have done that in the past where they've taken a claim of a book and made the title the same on their book and say, see, this is that book. But beware, because you can claim whatever. But this is, battles is actually the same word as the breads of Yehovah, because this is from the breads, or from the tearing, or from the kneading, right? Because when you make bread, you tear and you knead. It's used to describe wars, and it's used to describe bread, which is lechem.
Okay. And the slope of the wadi that turns aside to the dwelling of Ar and lies on the border of Moab.
All right, just to give you, of course, this is the correct context, but this is the slope of the breast, or the cleavage, the cleavage of the inheritance. So you could translate that to the cleavage of the inheritance. That's why it's definitely important to get your context.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the slope of that division of the valley. All right. 16.
And from there on to Be'er, which is the well where Yehovah said to Moshe, gather the people and let me give them water.
Okay, so Be'er is well, same word. All right.
Yisrael then sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing to it. A well that leaders sank, which the nobles of the people dug with their staves by the sword of the inscriber, then from the wilderness onto Mattanah.
To the giving. All right.
From Mattanah to Nahaliel.
Very good.
From Nahaliel to Bamot.
Yep. And this is the valleys of Yehovah, or the valleys of Elohim. And then this is the high places, the highs. Because there's actually places later called Bamot Baal, the high places of Baal.
Huh. And from Bamot in the valley that is in the country of Moab to the top of Pisgah, which looks down on the wasteland.
Yeah, and the wasteland may just be a description, but it may actually be a proper name, as in a location called Yeshimon, which I don't know why the scriptures didn't transliterate it. They usually do. But for some reason they decided, oh, it's just on the wasteland, period. Not on Yeshimon.
So what's the difference again? From wasteland
because
to...
this is not the proper name. They're just saying, when you translate the proper name, it translates as wasteland. And the scriptures version, for some reason, did not use the proper noun. They just use the wasteland.
And Yisrael sent messengers to Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, saying...
Okay, so Yisrael is the group of people, right? The Israelites going through the desert. And they sent messengers, right? So did they send angels?
I don't know. It says well, what's the word?
Messengers. I mean, but
So
this is the same
angel,
word that's
right?
translated as angels,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they pick and choose where they translate as angels and pick and choose where they translate as messengers. I would say, yes, this is messengers in the physical form, but even when angels appear in the Bible, they are messengers and they could be just human. Just saying though.
Okay. Let me pass through your land. We shall not turn off into fields or vineyards. We shall not drink water from wells, but go by the sovereign's highway until we have passed over your border.
Okay, so this is the same offer that they gave to Edom, aka Esau's people.
Mm-hmm. But Sihon would not allow Israel to pass through his border. So Sihon gathered all his people together and went out against Israel in the wilderness, and he came to Yahatz and fought against Israel.
Yahatz is the stamping. All right.
And Israel struck him with the edge of the sword and took possession of his land from the Arnon to the Yabok, as far as the children of Ammon, and for the border of the children of Ammon was strong.
Okay. And edge of the sword could be the mouth of the waist as well. So now I don't think mouth of waist works necessarily,
Right.
but yeah, it's the mouth of the sword or that which lays waste. So it's not necessarily sword. It could have been anything that they used to lay waste. It could have been spears. It could have been clubs. It could have been whatever weapons. That anything that lays waste. Because
And
I'm not necessarily sure that they had a collection of swords. Maybe they did. I don't know. I don't know. But it's not necessarily sword is what I'm trying to say.
okay.
All right, 25.
And Israel took all these cities, and Israel dwelt in all the cities of the Amorites, in Heshbon, and in all its villages.
I actually have all its daughters, all the daughters of it, because it translates the same way.
Okay.
Context is everything. So the daughters of Heshbon would be, all of its little sister cities, all of its little sister towns, right? Its
Mm-hmm.
villages.
Mm-hmm.
Because it actually translates as the sisters of Heshbon.
For Heshbon was the city of Sihon, the sovereign of the Amorites, who had fought against the former sovereign of Moab, and had taken all his land from his hand as far as the Arnon.
And from his hand could also mean from his strong hand, otherwise known as the east. To the east.
That is why those who speak in Proverbs say, "Come to Heshbon, let the city of Sihon be built and established."
Because it's been, it's being wiped out now by the Israelites.
For fire went out from Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon. It consumed Ar of Moab and the masters of the heights of Arnon.
So these stories, these war stories that are happening right now, when I was younger and growing up in church, these chapters were not looked at much. And the only war that I heard of was when they crossed the Jordan and they went to Jericho, right? And the walls of Jericho fell down. But there's this conversation that happens there where they're like, yeah, we've already heard that you guys kick butt and we're like super scared. And this is the thing that, was not really referred to. If you don't read through the whole story, you don't get the context. All right, 29.
All right. Woe to you, Moab! You have perished, O people of Chemosh. He has given his sons as fugitives and his daughters into captivity to Sihon, the sovereign of the Amorites.
I'm not sure that this is sons of fugitives. That's not. I actually agree with the King James Version's translation, the sons who have escaped. So I don't know where they got fugitives from because they do escape them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're trying to look at it as the negative of escape, and that they're fugitives, but I'm pretty sure they escaped. Not sure. But the daughters were brought into captivity. So the sons ran away and the daughters were brought into captivity. All right.
Then we shot them. Heshbon has perished as far as Divon, and we have laid waste as far as Nophah, which reaches to Medivah. Diva. I can't say these words.
Medivah.
Medivah. Okay.
Medivah.
Yeah,
Yep.
I had it right the first time then.
Yep. Then we shot them, I think is a bad translation.
I was wondering, like, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's not like we brought out our ARs and no. Then we threw them. We redirected them and they have perished, right? So it says we throw them and perish Heshbon, right? So threw them or redirected them.
So Yisrael dwelt in the land of the Amorites. And Moshe sent to spy out Yazer, and they took its villages and drove out the Amorites who were there.
And again, daughters. So this word being interchangeable with villages and daughters could actually be here where his sons have escaped and his villages were brought into captivity. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going back and forth using the same word.
Right.
Because it even says right here, they took its villages. But it could say they took his daughters.
Huh.
Right? But
Interesting.
yeah.
And turned
Right, 33.
And went up by the way to Bashan, and Og, sovereign of Bashan, went out against them, and he and all his people to battle at Edrei.
Okay. So not to send people spiraling because of what's going on right now. But there are those who assume that Og became Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog.
Mm-hmm.
Like after they were destroyed as cities, they became basically like nomadic warriors, like the Vikings type. So that's something that people can go down that rabbit hole and look into. But like Og used to be the sovereign of Bashan, and that they had an established city or nation, and then when they went to war with Israel, they were scattered and possibly became those future nations. All right, verse 34.
And Jehovah said to Moshe, do not fear him, for I have given him into your hand with all his people and his land, and you shall do to him as you did to Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, who dwelt at Heshbon.
All right, so Jehovah says, I've given them into your hand, so there's nothing to worry about there.
And they struck him and his sons and all his people until no remnant was left of him, and they took possession of his land.
All right, that's the end of that chapter. So, yeah, this is them just getting ready to go into the promised land. They're not there yet. Just to, give people context, this is them, approaching the Yarden eventually.
So they're basically working their way. They're just defeating different kings on their way to the...
And they don't want to. They're like, hey, just let us go by the road. We're not going to touch your food. We're not going to touch your water. We're just going to pass through. Right. And they're like, nah, we're fighting. Like, all right. But it doesn't go well for them. Mm-hmm. So these events typically get taken out of context. Like they'll talk about, they destroyed them and utterly destroyed them and et cetera, et cetera. Well, why did they utterly destroy them? Were they just like on this killing rampage? No, they actually just wanted to travel. And it was very hard back then for you to travel. And we're not, if it was like a band of men, like, let's say, it was like 6 men walking down the road. They wouldn't think nothing of it, right? But we're talking about a multitude. We're talking about the beginning of a nation traveling through the land.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does look like an army. It looks like, okay, these people are trying to take over this area, but we're literally just trying to get to the promised land. But it needed to happen, because there was judgments being held back from these people that we read all the way back in Genesis, where Yah told Abraham, we're not killing them because their sin is not big enough yet. And then when it had gotten big enough, then Yah had started sending his people through the land, and in the process purging it as well. So that's the way it went. All right, so I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of, well, maybe there's not. I mean, there's sometimes whenever I assume there's going to be a lot of questions and there wasn't. So, but all right, shout out to JB Rants, Lord Racer, F'd Up World, FE Nation, TC Zamman, Singeman, Thunder Chicken, CC. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen him in a long time. What's up, CC? How you doing? Let's see. Joe Nugent. I don't know if I already shouted you out. Sorry if I did. Inhuman Ways, Mystical, Rock Hounding and Fossils. Joseph Osborne, Ollie B, Melissa, John Keeley, Tony Coriolis. I met him at Flatowerfest at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see you, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Messenger, Wide Awake, Joe Nugent. I think I already called you out, but just in case. Aisling 717. What's up, Cammy? I saw Zulu 1. Yep, Zulu 1. Walk and Talk. That's a cool name. Walk and Talk. Captain Construction. No longer on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Kim Ray. And Nightbot. Shout out to Nightbot. All right, so now I'm going to scroll through the actual words. I was just trying to make sure everybody got shouted out for sure. But yeah, CC in New York, that's cool. I haven't seen him in a minute. So I don't believe it or not, even though I'm on YouTube, I don't watch much YouTube anymore because I don't know, sometimes there's too much bringing me down instead of lifting me up, so I just pass on.
It's crazy train time right now anyway. You don't.
Yep.
It's crazy train.
Yep. Agreed. Encampments. I don't know what that was in regards to, but there was a statement there. Shalom Aleichem. Not spelled properly, but that's okay.
Someone asking what religion do I believe? I don't do religions.
Yep, ditto.
I don't do religion.
Quran is the true. Oh, I'm not. I don't know if it's his keyboard typing skills or whatever, but there's a lot of typos here. Quran is the last true book. Torah is rewritten, and the Engel Bible, I'm guessing English,
Mm-hmm.
Written by humans, and the Quran, not the Quran, is memorized in the mind. All right. I read it. Don't necessarily agree or disagree with it. Yeah, that you answered that question of Karen. What religion do you believe? Yeah, she doesn't. That's a good way to be. You didn't even spell it right. Muslims believe that the Quran. Okay. The Holy Book of Islam was revealed to Muhammad over a period of 23 years, starting with the initial revelation at Mount, etc., etc. Yeah, that is correct. As far as the current historical narrative goes, that is the correct thing, that it was after. Yeah, and if you look at the other history about Muhammad, he allegedly was with a group of disciples after the second wave of disciples after Yeshua, and he didn't like the fact that they wouldn't put him in a elevated position, and then that's when he allegedly went out and looked for revelation and started his new religion. 23 years to write a religion. War of eagle and serpent got me into conspiracies. Snake has a lot of alternative meanings. Yes, that's what I'm saying. You can interpret things in a lot of ways, and that's why it's important to get the context. And I mean, it can be, you can see revelation in interpretation, but you have to be careful when you claim this means this, right? If it gives you inspiration for revelation, that's fine, but do not replace the original straight meaning is what I'm trying to say. Like, there are people who go so deep into explanations of interpretations that they ignore the base, surface meaning. Yeah, I'm not sure if Ali B's like first language is English, but Torah was rewritten Karen like the Bible. The English one, yes, for sure. I don't know where this is going, but we did give the disclaimer. We're not here to argue about theology. So
Yeah. And I agree, free Palestine. I got plenty of Islamic friends. There is a channel that does look at the Quran from a flat earth point of view. They're really cool. I think they're called Endgame Islam. But check, they're on YouTube.
Okay. Wow, this guy is like really spiraling. Yeah, if you don't look at the Quran, that's because the devil wants to see the truth. He likes you, likes if you're gonna make sin. Okay. Anyway,
And I don't have anything against looking at the Quran or reading it. I'm just currently looking at this.
I agree. I agree with Joe Nugent that the Jesuits have had a major influence on the modern Bibles. Major influence. Anyway, what did he say the bronze serpent represented? He didn't. And see, that's one of those things. Like, maybe this does represent something, and maybe you get that revelation. Right? That's what I was saying. Like, you could look at this like bronze being of divination, right? And the bronze serpent, right? The divination of whispers. And it's also in the same land where they do the praying to dead spirits, and that is not okay according to Torah. There's a lot of things in this chapter where you could perceive different things. Perceive, yeah. But it needs to, it needs to be done with the cautiousness of wanting to know what Yah is saying here rather than what can I come up with, right? That's what you need to be careful of. Rather seek what Yah is trying to explain. Okay? Free Palestine. Yeah. I mean, I think every man should live free, and I don't think there should be such a thing as Palestine or as England or as America. So free all nations from being nations. How about that? I don't like controlling groups. I'm not a fan at all. What's up, Jack? Hey, Marky Rizzo. The heavens, Shemaim, okay. Yep, up. Yep.
Sufanelli, are you pocket modding?
Hey, Sufanelli.
Oops.
I don't know what that was about.
She accidentally hid no longer on the ball, and then she unhid him.
Hit him and unhit him.
Yeah. But,
Oopsie.
You should be back, though. No longer on the ball.
I don't know what that icon is. Sue, rainbow, and then this other icon. Is that a wand?
Looks
Rainbow
like
wand?
it.
Okay. I agree. Free Palestine. Yeah. Yeah. Why? What? Look into even why it's called Palestine in the first place. It's just bad. Like, just a small group of people decided this is called Palestine now. Anyway, recently some other GG33 students have have been discussion religion versus numerology. I'm beginning to see that religion is not numerology. For that system just applies with this matrix. Religion is also about events outside of the matrix, outside of the laws and numbers, and other aspects of this realm. Okay, interesting. Earth is spread like a carpet. Yeah, we're aware of that.
Mhm.
I mean, anybody who's been in flat Earth for a while has heard that already, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, free Palestine to the sea,
But,
taking over.
the main reason why I'm not doing a show about the Quran is because I don't speak Arabic, and I don't really have a person that speaks Arabic that can be there with me to translate stuff like we're doing now.
Right.
So
Yeah, and the only reason I know what I know is because I became obsessed of not believing translations because they can manipulate so much stuff in translations. I mean, here, even a couple of things, I didn't quite like how they translated it because it's like, that's not really true to the words here. So, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm wrapped up, ready when you are.
Okay. So I guess that's it. No one likes controlling groups. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty. So I guess we're all done here.
Yep. Shabbat shalom, y'all.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you once again for joining us for another anti-religious scripture study. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and have a restful day. And we'll see you again next Saturday.
And the earth is still flat.
And the earth is still flat. AF. All right.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, y'all. Take care.